Testing, testing. 1, 2, 1, 2. What's going on, everybody? Coming to you from the Sunshine State, Florida. And got myself outside today recording. And this is an update on the water fasting journey. I posted a day 1 video. Now I've got some news for you, and it's funny because I went to explain this last night and make a video and talk about it, and I did for 44 minutes, and when I went to go replay the video, there was no audio. There was 0 audio, and that was a little frustrating, but I had to laugh it off. So that was like the 3rd strike on my water fasting issues that I've had with just posting the video and what I'm going to dive into now. But yeah, so this water fasting journey, it was the journey was short and sweet. For me, it lasted a little under 3 days, and yesterday was that 3rd day. And I know I'm late. Like I said, I've had some issues. There's a day 1 video. That video was posted 2 days late, so it's a little windy out here. But day 1 was like 4 days ago. Yesterday was going on the 3rd day, so I ended my fast about 8:30 in the morning. And you know, the first video, I could not get it to upload. It took 2 days to upload. It just would freeze, and it would stop at like a certain percentage of uploading, or it'd stop at a percentage of processing. So as I'm, you know, putting content out there and just doing what I do, and my sharing my daily habits and sharing what I'm passionate about and just sharing my interests, and I'm trying to record them just to inspire change and inspire health and all kinds of great stuff. And it's a learning curve. It's a learning process. So some of these videos take a little while to upload. Sometimes I have trouble and they don't upload for a couple of days for some reason. It could have to do with the Wi-Fi, the bandwidth, whatever. I'm not too technical on those things. So the first one, that's why it didn't go up until a couple days later. Now, the reason there isn't a day 2, this is supposed to be day 2 and day 3 of the water fasting journey, and it was supposed to be posted last night. But the reason there isn't a day 2 is because I was fasting on day 2, going on my 48 hours. I felt miserable. Honestly, I kept thinking, I feel miserable, but then I had to change my thinking and be like, okay, this is all right. This is just a temporary feeling. I'm going to move through this. And in day 2, like I barely talked. I said maybe a dozen words the whole day. It was really, it just, so having the energy to make a video, just and I didn't practice any yoga asanas, which is yoga poses. Day 2 for me, I attempted my daily habits and going about my day, but a lot of it was spent in just being in silence. Just a lot of kind of sitting in silence. And I did read a book called The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra, and I highly recommend that book. It was incredible, and I read through the entire thing, even though it was only like 111, 115 pages. But that was a great book, and that's what I did on day 2. Now, physically, my stomach didn't hurt, but it was just, you could tell it felt empty. And my energy levels felt really low, like diminished. Even my legs felt heavy when I was walking. So I practiced meditation. Even that was a little bit challenging just because of the hunger desires. And as I mentioned, day 1, the first 2 to 3 days, first 48 to 72 hours are one of the toughest, the most challenging parts, because your body is going against its normal habits of eating every day. So it's going to be a challenge. And but you can get through it. I got through it. And day 2, it was definitely a little bit of a struggle, but I didn't eat anything, and I only drank a bunch of water. And you know, I read a little bit up on fasting benefits and just to kind of gain some more knowledge on fasting. But I believe in so much of its health benefits, and that it has healing powers, and you know, your body is a beautiful piece of art, so it heals itself. And if you take the right actions, and fasting can be it. But the water flushes out the kidneys, flushes out the toxins in the bodies, you know, and I think it creates clarity in the mind and the emotions, and creates some stability and groundedness. But I became very quiet internally, and then therefore externally, and that was really powerful for me. So I did a lot of writing, and like I said, like silent, just being and stillness. But day 2, I had a hard time going to sleep because I felt like I had a bunch of energy towards the end of the day. And then I woke up like 5 hours later. So I went to bed at like 3:30 in the morning, woke up at 8:30, and the first thing I did was eat. I was ready to eat, man, because the night before I was contemplating on eating for like 3 or 4 hours. And that's all I was just back and forth, like, should I eat? Should I not eat? Should I eat? Should I not eat? And it was just ridiculous. I was like, I feel like I'm putting myself through torment here. And but as I read up on it, you know, the first 2 to 3 days are your body goes through a state of ketosis, is what it's called. And I didn't read up too much more on that, so I couldn't tell you at this moment. But I know that there's like products out there that you can buy to help put your body in the state of ketosis, when you can just fast and do the same thing, and it doesn't cost you anything. So yeah, there's just products that you can take that do the same thing you can do on your own without paying for it, and fasting is one of those things. And it helps also increase your hormones, and it helps decrease aging, and just like helps clarify. Oh, there it is. See, the video just froze on me. The video just damn froze. Man, it's like, am I supposed to do this or not? Okay, here we are once again, and so it continues. Hopefully it still works and keeps going. So as you can see, I had some turbulence, if you will, with creating the recordings and getting them out there. So the first video was a few days late, as I said before, and it was because the computer wouldn't upload. And then the second day, I had very little energy to put out a video, and I talked a little bit about day 2 and kind of the process that I experienced with fasting. I'm a little disappointed. The video I created last night, didn't go through because it was the end of my fasting at the end of the day after I had eaten. And I explained that I had got up at 8:30 in the morning and had some breakfast. And I started off with some caffeine-free herbal tea. It was a peppermint, I think, with some honey. And then I had 2 bananas, very ripe bananas with honey and dried cranberries on them. And then I proceeded to eat even more. And I realized though, like right before this, when I fast, I tend to do this like every few months, 2 or 3 months maybe, and I usually like to do it around the full moon. I don't really have a reason yet, but it wasn't happening like that this time. But I realized that I always end up going about a little under 3 days. So I ended up at around 63 hours without any food. And oh, it looks like it's gonna start. Oh, it's raining. We haven't had a lot of rain lately here in Florida, so it's finally starting to rain. It might even storm, but anyway. So yeah, 63 hours I went, and the morning I felt like I had some decent energy, even though I didn't sleep much, but I was ready to eat. I was ready to just end it. But every time I do, I always end it about the same time. And so I'd like to try to do a retreat where there's professionals where I can go, because there's like, you can do like 7-day fast, 14-day fast, and just kind of experience that a little bit different with a more of a controlled environment. So it is a little bit more difficult to do when you have, to do a job, or if you have to take care of kids, or if you just have we have responsibilities, we have obligations, we have interests, we have hobbies. It's a little challenging to fast, but then again, even more challenging to incorporate it into your daily habits and it be part of the day. And so and what keeps me going with fasting, though, what kept me going it was coming down good, but what keeps me going past the first day and the second day and wanting to try it again for even longer is just curiosity. I'm just super curious what could possibly happen, what kind of effects could happen to me, my mind, my spirit, my body, with fasting. And I believe a lot in its process and what it does within the body. So there's that, and but it is definitely challenging to do. And so at some point I'd like to go a little farther with a more controlled environment where that's just the spotlight, where you're fasting and you're around other people fasting. So they have silent retreats, so I'm sure there's like fasting retreats. And the video I had last night was way more enthusiastic, just because I had eaten yesterday and I was super pumped up and I was super happy. It was kind of like a little bit of a high. It wasn't very neutral state. I was very excited, and but today I feel a little exhausted right now. So I'm trying to finish this video up, and hopefully it doesn't freeze or have any other issues. And but what did come out of that is I was able to play around with editing, and it seemed to have come naturally as I was just playing around. It was really weird. So you'll see some stuff here and there. But it's definitely worth attempting to try, and there are some precautions to take and some contraindications with certain people's illnesses or diseases or whatever they have. You have to be careful and make sure that you're doing your research before you go into something like this. But like yoga, it is definitely a healing method. And it opens up your mind, your heart, your spirit, and to me it's self-love. It's an act of self-love and a challenge. But yeah, I ate even after those few days, 63 hours. I had the 2 bananas, the honey, the dried cranberries, the tea. I had a bagel with cream cheese, and I had a bagel with peanut butter on it a couple hours later. And then I waited about 6 hours, and I had some spaghetti. It was like spaghetti noodles, but mixed with fresh onions and peppers and tomatoes and a lot of fresh vegetables. And I think I had some chips and salsa too. I stuffed my face, man, and I was fine. And then the other thing is my yoga asana, the yoga pose practice. When people say yoga, it's them doing poses. When I practiced the next day, it actually helped tremendously. Just my body was able to get to go deeper into some of the poses, so that was really cool. And but yeah, there was the last video I mentioned. I've practiced a raw diet only, and just this past February. I did about 26 or 27 days, maybe about 26, 28 days of raw food only, and that I just jumped into because my desire to try eating only raw food, and that desire came from raw food being alive and cooked food as being dead, considered dead to some perspective. Dr. Sabi speaks about this a little bit, and this is just somebody with a different theory, a different perspective, different experiments and experience. And but plant-based foods that are still alive, that haven't been cooked yet, are considered alive and high in alkalinity. And there's alkalinity foods and liquids and acidic foods and liquids, and the higher and more we consume that's alkaline, the healthier and more alive our body, mind, and soul will be, and everything else in our body. And there will be less aches and pains, if not any. There's a lot of things that will just disappear from raising the alkalinity in the body, and that's from raw foods and water as well. And that's the other thing with water. I've been drinking filtered water from like a machine at the grocery store. You go and fill up a 5-gallon jug. I would go with something like that if you can get something even better, like reverse osmosis, or there was a friend of mine that had a Kagan water machine, and this was like a $5,000 machine. They have smaller ones. Eventually I would like to invest in something like this because it filters out the water so much that it raises the pH levels, which is a higher alkalinity water, which is the best water for you, a high alkaline water. And you can look up this stuff. You can find it everywhere. And but the raw food diet I did, and I still worked, like 12-hour days, and it was outside work, and it was and I just jumped into that. I think I had one cooked meal because I was cooking for a bunch of other people too, and while I was still eating raw. But it was just like a bowl of vegetables. It was vegetarian, and I'm vegetarian. I've been vegetarian for like the last 3 years, and I think going on 3 years. So I eat more plant-based foods. They are some cooked, some are raw, and that's why some raw, is it plant-based food, people who eat that kind of diet could be called a fruitarian, because it's been known to eat the foods that are closest to the sun because they're highest in alkalinity. So oranges and lemons and limes and papayas, and there's a lot of different fruit, and that's really good for you. So I ate a lot of fruit, a lot of blueberries, a lot of raspberries, a lot of bananas, papayas, watermelon, cantaloupe, you name it, I was eating it. And so I did that, and that was actually more manageable. So I suggested at one point, I don't know if it made it in the videos, I'm a little sporadic here with these videos, but the food, I would suggest changing diet before going into a fast. So I went into eating just fruits and vegetables, and none of this was cooked, and that made a huge difference. The only things that I didn't like about that and fasting, then it's like I do really enjoy it, and I'll keep doing it and experimenting with this the rest of my life, but I get more skinny than I'm used to, so it's hard for me to adjust to that image. And when I was growing up, I used to lift weights and eat a lot of food to bulk up, so that was some kind of image that I attached to for a while. And that's not how I look anymore, but I still like some meat on my bones. And when I fast, you lose weight quickly. You will lose weight, and you can keep it off too by changing your diet And by committing to intermittent fasting and a different diet, and you can change it up 1 day out of the week, 2 days out of the week, and just work gradually. This stuff can come quickly, but it's not going to come right away, okay? And the best way to make it more quick than longer is by gradually increasing and being consistent over time. That's what I'm practicing with my yoga practices and meditation and some various other habits. Is this the consistency? Not 1 week, not 2 weeks, not a month, not 2, 3. I want to go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months, a year, 2 years, and compound interest on those things. But working a different diet before you get into the fast is definitely encouraged. So more plant-based foods. They can be cooked, but raw is awesome. And so this raw diet, it definitely changed a lot. My body got smaller, or I lost that muscle. I wouldn't say my strength stayed, but the muscle mass left, fat left. And but with fasting, you pee a lot because you got the water just running through you. So I had to go to pee all the time, and that was kind of annoying. But let's think. I'm saying a lot. I'm gonna catch myself. I don't want to do that. So those are the two things I didn't really care for, and they're kind of superficial, but it's just the way, you can attach to kind of an image, so it takes an adjustment to look a certain way. If you're not used to it, you might not like it, but there's an adjustment period. So anyway, the raw diet I did, it was I was still able to function quite a bit, but it was tough. It was tough too, and it was once again my curiosity that kind of kept me going. It fueled me to keep moving forward with that choice, and I'm glad I experienced it. There's I think a lot of these health benefits, some of them can go unnoticed, but a lot of them can be seen the more you implement it into your life. So that's why I'm kind of sharing it, because this is something that I implement, and I feel healthier than I've ever been. And that's from changing my diet over the last 2.5 years, and practicing yoga and practicing fasting, and doing my best to choose to drink mostly water, and just asking myself each and every day, what actions am I taking to become the best version of myself beyond possible? And this will carry over. Since I can extract the audio, I'm going to mention my podcast being Beyond Possible, and I'm going to put that on there. I should have mentioned that in the beginning. Oh well. I'm kind of out of it a little bit right now. I need to just go to sleep. Yeah. So I think I'm going to end that here, just because I'm kind of having brain farts, if you call them that, and not a huge amount of enthusiasm in my tone of my voice. So, but yeah, I encourage you to try it, and I want to make some other ones with diet and fasting, and see where those go. And I do want to do some videos about sharing books as well, because I like to read, and I wanted to do something like that. But the fasting is good. It's good. It's worth it. If it's only for 6 hours, or if it's for 10, if it's for 12, 16, and that's what I do every day. Actually, is 16-hour where I don't eat, and then there's an 8 period, and within 8 hours where I'm eating. So intermittent fasting is something else that you could gradually work up to before you just jumped into something like this. And but yeah, great things don't come right away. they can through time and effort and consistency and determination. And yeah, you can create some miracles. What is it that Deepak Chopra says? He's like, the goddess or God embryo in us just wants to express itself, just wants to be let out. And so remember, this is self-love, guys. This is self-love. So be gentle with yourself, be patient, and be kind to yourself in practicing things like these. So until next time.